To be honest, I didn't even know I was coming to Canada. I had finished my high school and I did my JAMB. Mind you, for context, I'm coming from Nigeria. So I did my JAMB, but I was waiting like my other friends to get accepted into the university. And my mom, asked me at the time what I wanted to study, and I said I wanted to study nursing. And then she went ahead to apply, behind my back to University of Manitoba. And, all glory to God, I got accepted. And just like that, I applied for my study visa, and here I am today. Expectation versus reality. I thought life was going to be, seamless. I grew up watching Western movies, and at the time you would see, people going to university. You would see how they would take a break, go to the coffee shop. You would see, the grocery stores. There were just so many things that made it seem that life was going to be so easy. So that was the expectation I had coming here, that it was going to be seamless. I would go to school. I would have like friends, right away. And it would just be like a smooth transition into a new environment. The reality was a shocker. I'm going to start with the weather. We came in April, and that's even like spring. It's considered spring, but like we stepped out of the airport, and right away we ran back inside because it was too cold. And then let's now talk about the actual winter. Imagine having to go to school in like minus 30 degrees with like snow, knee high. It was hard. That's the best way I can put it. There were days where I would cry and I wouldn't want to go to school, but I had to pick myself up and, remind myself that I'm here for a reason. Another thing that was a big shock was the education system. Back home, a lot of the education in Nigeria was theory-based, and then coming here, I realized that it was more application-based. So it's not about knowing the knowledge, but how can you apply it to everyday life? And so that was another, place where I had to unlearn a lot of the things that I knew and then relearn how to, understand the context that was being taught. Another thing that was a big shock for me too was trying to adjust to going to school and working at the same time. Around the time I came, a lot of changes had happened in the economy. From Nigeria, and so my parents couldn't, send me as much money for tuition as well as my upkeep. So I had to, pick up myself in that regard and find a job and still be able to go to school at the same time. Not to also talk about, the culture shock. I grew up not looking at people in the eye, but I came here and you had to look at people right in the eye when you're talking to them. Another thing is calling people that were older than me by their first name. I still don't get it, I will not lie. But that was also another thing that I had to learn as well. I had to learn, the culture of having friends in university, but knowing that some of those people are not going to be your friends over the long period of time. So also building the community of friendships that I wanted for myself, I had to learn that as well. All in all, I would say the reality was hard, but I had to learn, and in learning, I was able to also build the community that I wanted. This is exactly 10 years after. And I will say, all glory to God, I'm actually a registered nurse. I had come in here desiring to be a nurse, and I'm really grateful that actually became an actuality. I'm working now in the NICU, which is a dream that I had, growing up. So it was really good to see that also come to light. Another big change or transition in my life is coming as an international student and sitting here today as a permanent resident. I'm so grateful. We went through so much with IRCC, just to say, but I'm glad that we're here now and also working towards becoming a Canadian citizen as well. In terms of, my lifestyle, I've been able to also harness a lot of my passions and a lot of my dreams, also in creating, the picture that I wanted for myself in Canada. For example, I have Table for Two, which is a small initiative that I started that I absolutely love. Please follow me on Instagram. Basically what I do is I go out, I try new restaurants, sometimes I take my friends with me and we just explore different cultures. Another thing that we do is blessing bags. This is an initiative that I started with, the desire to reach out to marginalized populations, for example, the homeless community. So every December, we go out and we give out food, we give out items, we give out essentials to people that are in need. So I will say that right now, I'm in a good place. There's so much more to be done, but I'm just really grateful for how far I've come. And I also have a strong community. I came here not even knowing anyone, and now I have good friends. I have fellowship with church, my church community, and I have, my colleagues as well at work. One thing I'm going to tell you is that you should understand that things take time. I know, like, coming from Nigeria, you had like the dreams, your desires, everything you wanted to actualize in Canada. I'm going to tell you that you can still actualize all of it. You know, Rome was not built in a day, and it will take time. There might be hurdles, there might be, you know, setbacks, but also having that assurance that if you put your mind to it and you put in the work, you can actually get there. Another advice I'll give to you is to know that you are not alone. Sitting next to you, your neighbor maybe, your classmate might be going through exactly what you're going through. So it's just having that, you know, consciousness to be able to ask people. Don't be scared, you know, don't feel like you're alone. Ask people around you. That's how you build connections. That's how you also learn about, you know, the Canadian system. That's how you get resources. To be honest, my very first job, I got my first job by asking, and you know, is that reality that, you know, you need people to be able to build, you know, the future that you want for yourself. So don't be scared. Know that you're not alone, and ask, ask, ask.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.